Attention!
Welcome to the Film Mages Podcast, where the popcorn is our ammunition, the couch is our foxhole, and the cinema is our place of worship.
Now let me see your war face. Ah!
Try silence.
Wait.
That'll make for a great podcast.
I have that full quote, though. It is, don't go gentle into that good night. Rage against the dying of the light.
I believe that's actually, do not go gentle into that good night.
Do not go gentle into that good night?
Against the dying of the light.
It's a poem.
I thought it was Rage Against the Machine.
That's why we call it the Prestige.
Rage Against the Machine.
No, it's from that Christopher Nolan movie, The Prestige.
The Prestige.
Yeah, the only Christopher Nolan movie.
Yeah.
I'm loving being in the hot seat because it's so clear that I was the only one that majored in English.
Yeah. You told me that the other night, and I was surprised.
You majored in English?
Yeah, I acted surprised too.
Hold the fuck up.
I feel like you've probably told us that before.
Yes.
But it makes
In college.
so much sense.
Before I transferred to Humboldt,
I do
got my
remember that.
associate's degree in
Okay.
English, but I did
Wow.
also minor in English writing while I was at Humboldt. So
It's fantastic. You speak it incredibly well.
You talk
Your
words.
English is great.
You talk
you know
words so
what's-
good.
You know what I love about being really smart is the fact that there has to be some sort of balance, right? So like you can be incredibly smart, but then I say the dumbest shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stupid.
As
do.
opposed to me,
Like
who's-
stuff I'm surprised comes out of my mouth because I'm like, what the fuck was that?
Well, the thing that's crazy about me is like I'm so dumb, but I'm just so goddamn eloquent. I sound so good.
Yeah. No.
I had a. By the way, hi. We're the Film Mages.
Yeah, I was gonna
How
say
long have we been recording?
I am Mick.
Like a
Hi,
minute.
everybody.
Okay. Hey.
Good evening. We're recording this at 11 o'clock at night.
We are recording this at 11 p.m. I'm Zach.
Yikes.
I'm Alexis.
And we were supposed to record on Sunday, but I had a little. We had a little
had a
recording
snafu.
snafu.
Yeah.
We don't need to get into the details because it's
'Cause
really
they
not
care.
that interesting.
Wait, no, I hope they tell us what went wrong.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
What happened?
Wait,
Everything
Zach.
in my life is going wrong. That's what it was.
Mick stopped doing heroin for a day, and that,
I
that
crashed
jammed
hard.
us up
I
for.
really crashed hard.
Yeah, but he's back on the horse now.
And honestly, when I stopped doing heroin, I went into the bathroom, I looked at myself in the mirror, and I went, Mick, what is going on?
Heroin is not funny, guys.
What is going on, though? What's going on?
Oh, you
yeah,
got me.
You didn't
got
even
us.
notice. That's how good it was.
Yeah.
God, now he's back on the horse. He's so quick.
It's the heroin.
If there's one thing that heroin addicts are notorious for, it's how fast they are.
I'm
Yeah, I'm quick.
uncomfortable with laughing at this.
I'm quick. I'm fast.
Oh man, you know.
Yeah, I love being on a podcast with boys with a sick sense
Do
of
you?
humor. Yeah, totally. I mean, I signed up for this, right?
Yeah, what
Yeah,
does that tell you
did.
about
That's
yourself?
fair.
Is that
We
the
reflect
faint,
on you.
Is that the faint rattle of a chain chaining me to this desk? No, of course not.
No, we'll add that in post.
Scrooge!
So
Sorry,
what
we're
is
not
going
there.
on, folks? Tell us. What's going on in our lives? What's going on in the world of film? What's worth discussing?
Let's do like a little 2-minute recap, get our days out of our system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we all were on set today. We weren't on the same set. Mick and Alexis were. I was on a commercial for, again, I can't say what, but it was Raytheon.
What is that again?
What the fuck is Raytheon?
Sounds familiar.
They
Yeah.
produce weapons for the government. It was not Raytheon. Yeah. I woke up at 4 a.m.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Fortunately, today went very smoothly, and it was, I think it was basically just a photo shoot today, so I was out of there pretty much right on my 12.
Good.
Yeah, which felt nice. Doesn't happen too often, so...
Wonderful.
Yeah, and then I came back here. I watched part of one of my strange comfort films, which is the 2015 Best Picture winner Spotlight. And then I took a little nap, and I woke up like half an hour before we started recording. So Hey, everyone. I'm a little sleepy.
Yeah.
Hey.
But don't worry, I'm drinking tea with whiskey in it, so I'm going to be sharp in no time.
Oh, wow. I'm
Nice.
jealous.
You
That
know,
sounds nice.
me and
It
Mick,
is.
we're work besties. He keeps me hydrated. He keeps me snacked up. It's
Get
great.
you a man who keeps you snacked up.
Yo, for real, get you a man that brings you
damn
chia
it.
seed pudding to set
I
so that you can
actually-
put it in your bag for later.
The thing that Alexis doesn't tell you is that Mick puts the chia seed pudding in there loose. Well, he just kind of takes a handful of it and chucks it in the bottom of her backpack. But, it's the thought that counts.
Yeah, scoop it out a little bit. There's a little zhuzh to it after that. So
Is this a bit?
I don't know, but I said
Is
yes.
it?
I said yes and okay.
Yeah, thank you, Alexis.
You're so welcome.
no
it's
matter
not often that we get to do that because we're constantly telling each other no.
no matter how tired you are, I know that I can count on you to do some improv. Play the game of the scene.
Exactly. Actually, I think my favorite moment of the day was probably a weird, awkward moment at the end of the day where we had babies on set today.
Congratulations.
Oh no, thank you. I could do without them. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, I said, "Hey Mick, you know how there's sometimes like an echo after you hear a cry?" He was like, "Yeah," and I was like, "Yeah." So when I was listening to those babies cry, I could hear the faint echo of my ovaries drying up, and and I said it in front of our second, and they were like, "Wow, I didn't know that there was anybody who was actually darker than me about babies." And I had to walk away because she didn't laugh.
No.
She did not laugh. And
No
I was
one
like,
laughed.
oh, damn.
But it's funny.
Yeah, I thought Mick found it funny, but he didn't laugh.
Well, no. I didn't want
So-
to give you the satisfaction.
He doesn't want people
Copy.
to think he's weird.
Yeah.
Damn.
All right. Mick, do you have anything about the day?
No, I don't want to talk about the day. I'm over it. But I will say, last night, I finally watched, for the first time, thanks to Alexis, Almost Famous. The Cameron Crowe film.
Yeah, that's a fun one.
That's a really good movie.
We
Yeah.
needed it. We needed that, like, energy pickup, essentially, and
Yeah.
kind of fun little movie to watch,
The
you
music
know?
is so good.
Oh, excellent soundtrack.
Great soundtrack.
And I love Penny Lane. I remember, I feel like I had friends in like high school who kind of made that like their part of their personality a little bit.
Yes.
Being Miss Penny Lane.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that coat, love it.
Amazing.
Living for it.
I love the Band-Aids.
The Band-Aids.
Band-Aids are great.
Yeah.
I have to say, there's a lot of mid-movie cheese in that, especially the ending. And Zooey Deschanel had not figured out what acting was yet, clearly.
She was a little wooden.
when
yeah.
she was in
Yeah.
that movie. But, my God, the Philip Seymour Hoffman scenes,
Oh, so
Billy
good.
Crudup.
Crudup.
Oh, man.
Billy Crudup is such a good like top of the bench player.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I feel like Billy Crudup is not a guy who I think of as like, oh man, that's one of my favorite actors. But whenever Billy Crudup shows up, he shows up to fucking play. Even in a lengthy movie that I don't really enjoy, Zack Snyder's Justice League. There's one scene
in
with, there's one scene where Billy Crudup fucking plays the Flash's dad, and he's great. He's great because he always is.
And he's in Spotlight.
Yes.
Oh, that's true. That's right. You know what, though? I really like Almost Famous because I've watched it a few different points in my life, and I feel like I've taken something kind of different from it each time, like as life has gone on and I've experienced different things. But, some of the more iconic lines are, obviously the ones that people remember.
Those would be the iconic ones.
That was so profound.
Wow, thanks. It was a segue into saying my new favorite one that I determined last time. But this is exactly what I was saying about smart people saying dumb things. That's me. That's
And
me
dumb
to a
people
T.
saying smart things. How's it going?
Welcome to the
It's
Filmmakers.
great. It's great. But Philip Seymour Hoffman says something like, "The only real currency in this bankrupt world is the things that you say to people who are uncool
While you're being uncool.
while you're being uncool."
Yeah.
And
So
I
much
love
truth
that.
in that.
Yeah.
Another film that we all watched was new release, which is also a period piece. Martin McDonagh's The Banshees of Inisherin with Colin Farrell, Brendan Gleeson, Harry Condon, I believe. And Barry Keoghan. I'm going to look that up to see if I fucked up her name. But yeah, we all saw it. What did you guys think?
I liked it. I didn't love it. I was kind of in a weird headspace when I did see it. So I think if you're going to see it, it's a sad film, but it's very funny at the same time. So make sure you go in the right headspace.
Yeah.
But great. It's a great movie. I mean, I see why it has such a high rating. It's not my favorite Martin McDonagh because I don't think we're ever going to get another In Bruges again. But
I still need to see that.
So good.
It might be my favorite Martin McDonagh.
Really?
I was really...
I did not connect to it the same way.
I was really profoundly affected by the time I went out. I think it's a really good movie about codependence.
Yeah.
And just, how you will stay in the life of someone who is destroying you and you are destroying them because you don't know anything else.
Or really, they're destroying themselves.
Yeah. But yeah, Colin Farrell, what a fucking year for that guy.
Oh,
Yeah,
I know.
definitely.
Amazing.
He's a grade A actor.
I didn't love the film, but the performances in it are top notch across the board. So good. Please watch it. I recommend everybody watch it that listens to this podcast. It's worth it. See it in the theater.
I agree. Great film. I also didn't connect to it probably as much as you did, Zach. But I also woke up on the wrong side of the bed that day that I went to see it. So I was also kind of sleepy. But it did get many laughs from me, and they came at the most surprising times, which I think is very good when a movie's kind of a downer is randomly getting you to laugh,
Martin McDonagh's so great at that.
Yeah, I was going to say that's kind of his secret sauce.
Well, excellent, because I didn't know that, and so now I'm tasting it. So
Yeah.
Have you seen 3 Billboards?
Oh, is that him?
Yeah.
Oh, I loved that movie.
Yeah, Martin McDonagh.
So much. I love Sam Rockwell.
7 Psychopaths?
No, have not seen that.
Oh, that's a good one. Christopher Walken.
Walken.
Yeah, you should also read some of his plays. I think I've only read... I've seen scenes from a bunch of them because people would do scenes from them when I was in high school theater. But I read his play, The Pillow Man. Mm-hmm. Talk about a play that makes you laugh at inappropriate times, but is supremely fucked up. Mm-hmm. That's highly... I should try to track down my copy of that because I own one, and that's... phenomenal piece of writing.
I'd like to read that, actually.
I think that might be...
I want to read some of his plays.
In terms of, my favorite thing he's written, so far, that might be it.
Copy.
So in sync. So in sync. Do we have anything else going on?
There's got to be some other stuff
There's
going on.
There's definitely something
We have
else.
busy lives. We
Yeah.
gotta have more stuff.
You know what's really funny though? I did finish the first season of The Boys, and that is actually part of the reason why I woke up on the wrong side of the bed
Yeah.
the day before I saw Banshees, because oh my god,
You were
I
up
like
until,
the show.
4 a.m,
I
right?
like the
Watching
show,
that?
but I get weird feelings watching that show. There's just some very visually, emotionally upsetting things.
Yeah, Zach introduced me to The Boys because for years people have been telling me to watch it, and sometimes when people keep telling me to watch something, I'm like, no.
I'm the same way, and I've
Yeah.
had multiple people tell me to watch
Yeah.
The Boys, and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna get around
That's
to
how I
it.
am with Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
I think The Boys is better. I mean, seasons 1 through 3 of Game of Thrones is still some of the best television ever. I sound like such a fucking bro when I say that. I apologize to everybody. God, fuck that show. But The Boys, yeah, I know exactly what you mean, Alexis. It's hilarious, but man, it just gives
Disturbing.
you funky vibes.
Yeah,
You can't really binge it because you're just like,
No, I can only do
hate myself.
1 or 2 episodes at a time because it gives me the ick.
Gives you the
Yeah, no, it is. That's
It-
the best way to say it.
Yeah.
It gives you the big ick.
Yeah.
God, I must have a tolerance for the big ick because I can burn through
I
The
know you
Boys.
do.
You do have a big tolerance for
You've
the
got
big
a
ick.
big old tolerance for the big old ick.
Please stop.
No, it's Mick's ick.
You know what's so funny is I'm in the hot seat today, but I feel like Zach is feeling something on that other side next to Mick.
It's Icky Mickey.
Icky Mickey.
Stop giving yourself nicknames.
Yeah, you're right. You're supposed to leave that to other people.
Icky Mickey.
The Ixter.
It's the Ixter.
No, I'm gonna start saying that on set now.
Icky Mickey.
I'll be like,
Icky Mickey, go to two.
Mickey.
Yeah.
You're so sicky.
You know, on Nope, I got the nickname Hickey Mickey because I
What?
showed up to set one day with a hickey, and so my boss started calling me Hickey Mickey.
Nasty boy.
I didn't do it on purpose.
Clearly.
Yeah.
I mean, who does do that? Hey, I got work tomorrow. Go ahead
No.
and suck on there for a little
Mick's
bit.
just
Put the
standing.
suction
Yeah,
cup on
Mick's
his-
Exactly.
Mick's just standing in his bedroom with the vacuum
Yeah,
on his
no.
neck.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the best thing to do.
think I'm so cool. That's my impression of Mick, and it's really good. You
That
guys
is
might
pretty
not have
good.
noticed.
That is great.
That was actually me talking, not
100%
Mick.
Can I have
spot
my
on.
hammer back? Because you just nailed it.
Yeah. Oh, here's one other thing that's going on.
What's going on?
I checked out Weird, the Al Yankovic story, starring Daniel Radcliffe.
We talked about that previously on the podcast. Tell us, what was it like?
It's a bit like a less high-quality version of Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story, but to be fair, I would probably, in my humble opinion, say that Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story is one of the funniest movies of the 2000s. So, you know, even when you're the low-rent version of that, you're still pretty funny. Daniel Radcliffe is exceptional in the movie, and I think the final gag, without spoiling anything, because you two haven't seen it, is, like, supremely funny. It's so good. It got me so hard. Stay through the credits because they're also very funny. And yeah, it really, Dewey Cox did it first, but Weird, the Al Yankovic story very much does nail the tropes of the music biopic genre.
I'm definitely still trying to see that movie while it's in theaters because I
It's not in
love.
theaters.
What?
Didn't get a theatrical
Oh,
release.
shit.
It's streaming free on the Roku channel, which
Okay.
you can find if you just look it up on your computer.
Okay.
It's the modern direct-to-VHS.
Yeah, if you have a Roku device, it'll be
Well,
on there.
I love an unhinged Daniel Radcliffe. I watched The Lost City a few months ago, and that man is hilarious. He just gets
I forgot
better.
He was in that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I still haven't seen that.
And
yeah.
I've also watched
It's
a few
a good date night
episodes of
movie.
what is that show about, like, God?
Oh,
Miracle Workers.
Oh yeah, I need to see that.
Yeah, I've seen
thought-
a couple episodes. He's funny.
I thought you were going to talk about the show he did with John Hamm.
The Young Doctor's Notebook.
Yeah, I mean, that show's just, like, really good, but that came out a while ago.
Yeah, Edwin was a big fan of that show. I think I saw most of the first season. I should get back on that. That was
I
a
would
funny
highly
show.
suggest that one. It's really
I think
good.
there's only one season.
Yeah, there's only one season.
Maybe I didn't finish it.
Okay.
I saw some of
Hella
it
good,
and
though.
thought it was very funny.
You know what else we did watch?
What else did you watch?
A Single Man, which is also a period piece.
Which I wanted to save for our later topic because it's relevant to what we're talking about.
Oh,
today.
yeah, I know. We can save it. Needless to say, loved it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good movie.
Isn't that movie directed by Tom Ford?
It is
It
directed
is
by
directed
Tom
by Tom
Ford,
Ford,
the
yeah.
designer
Yeah.
Tom Ford.
Also a
He also
Tom
wrote it,
Ford.
I believe.
Yes,
He
I
did.
think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, also a pretty good director. Nocturnal Animals is not awesome, but it has some good performances.
A Single Man's great.
I've never
I love the
seen
vision.
Nocturnal Animals, and I always, for some reason, thought that was the only movie he ever did. So
Mm-hmm.
when Tom Ford came up in the credits, I was like, God damn!
I was having an interesting time because I also saw House of Gucci, was it earlier this year? And of course there is Tom Ford as a character in that movie because he revitalizes the Gucci house, in the 90s.
It's a Mia Paolo.
It's a me, Paolo.
Boof.
Does he go
How could you
poof?
break my heart?
Oh, man.
How could you break my heart?
Don't break into my heart.
You're gonna make me cry. We're not doing a Mario impression. We're doing a, honestly pretty solid.
Jared
Which,
Leto
as
Paolo
I've said,
Gucci.
when we saw the trailer where Chris Pratt voices Mario, it was the only time I've ever been like, God, they should have gotten Jared Leto for this.
That might be the most I've ever liked Jared Leto in a movie.
Yeah.
He's really funny in House of Gucci.
Love it.
Well,
Sorry to
Shall
all
we-
of our listeners in Italy, of which we do have some. Also, thanks
Shut
for
up, we
letting us
do?
use your national anthem for our intro.
yeah, no, we have a lot of listeners in Italy.
We have
Do
we have
you
a
look
very
at the analytics, Mick?
No,
he does, and he
doesn't.
tells
Oh my
me.
god.
We have a very international audience. So hey everybody, thanks for listening. Shout out to Germany and Argentina, our top two
my
listeners.
Fräuleins.
Oh, don't.
Hey,
Why?
we told you because Germany,
Dankeschön.
because the foreign country that listens to us the most is Germany.
Really?
Yeah, which I think is because of our cover art, because we all look like Nazis.
We do not look like Nazis.
We do.
Okay.
Okay, we toned it back though.
Listeners, you should have seen the original version.
Okay, so
They
since we're
drew
just
a Hitler stash for some reason.
okay, fucking A.
you
Since
had
we're
a unibrow. Which
this
I
is
thought
a
was weird.
real bad time for anti-Semitism, and I'm just gonna fucking nip this in the bud right now
We're
since we're
not
talking about it.
anti-Semitic.
Yeah, we're not
we are
being
not
anti-Semitic.
anti-Semitic. We do not condone the actions of the Nazi Party, and our podcast art is not meant to look like Nazi
No, it's
propaganda.
not.
It's not meant to.
It is meant to look like communist propaganda, Soviet propaganda.
So much
which,
better.
I mean, yeah. So go ahead and shoot us an email, filmmagerspod@gmail.com, and let us know if you think it looks like Nazi propaganda or communist propaganda.
It's meant to look like the Death of Stalin movie poster.
Which is meant to look like communist propaganda.
Yeah. All right. Are we ready to button up what's going on?
Yeah, let's fucking button it up.
All right.
Button up, fucklehead.
Okay, so our topic of the day, I kind of reworked it a little bit. Originally, it was just going to be films that kind of touch on, depression and suicide. But instead, I think we should do movies that are kind of about that have made us feel seen on our own mental health journey, I should say, throughout our lives.
Yeah, and, I'm not usually a genuine person, but, I'd like to go ahead and throw in a little trigger warning here, a little disclaimer that today's
As we
movie
go on, yeah.
does
Yeah,
definitely
today's
deal
movie-
with suicide and the topics
We're
deal
going
with...
to try not to be a downer, but it is inevitable we're going to talk about some tough
Yeah.
subjects today.
But you know what? We're going to make it funny.
Are we?
Because the best medicine to depression is
Laughter.
laughing it out.
Getting exercise, going outside.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if you
yeah.
just
Drinking-
take a
drinking
walk,
water.
Yeah,
if you
drink
take a
water.
walk,
Yeah.
depression goes away.
Honestly, the movie that we're about to discuss, at no point was anyone like, you know what, you should just drink some water.
Yeah, and our
No,
number
but somebody
one,
did say, "Oh, you're going for a walk? Wish I could do that.
And,
I'd be so happy."
Somebody takes a walk into some water, but that doesn't really help.
Well, she's getting hydrated.
In some ways it stops the depression, but it doesn't cure
Hydrated
it.
and
See,
bloated.
this is what I mean. We're just going to make it funny. And look at that. That's great.
All right, I'd like to talk about a movie that made me feel seen at a specific time in my life, and that is Greta Gerwig's Lady Bird. I saw Lady Bird. It came out in 2017, fall of 2017, which was my first term of college. I was going to Santa Monica Community College down here in LA, and it came out right before Thanksgiving break. And going to Santa Monica Community College, there was no sort of a dorm. My second term, I lived at the UCLA International Housing Co-op, but my first term, I just lived in an apartment in Santa Monica with some weird dudes who I didn't really get on with, several of them. And, that first term, I felt a little bit lonely. And I, had that combined feeling of, I don't want to be at home because, I wouldn't want to be living at home because I wouldn't feel like I'm going anywhere in my life and I would feel stuck. But at the same time, I don't really know what to do now that I'm out on my own. And, similarly to that scene where Lady Bird walks into the church to kind of feel a sense of connection to her hometown and the Catholic school that she went to, going into the movie theater made me feel, a little less alone. And watching that movie, it definitely hit me where I was at and made me, feel a little less homesick and, a little more like, okay, this is just this place where I'm at in my life right now. And, it's not forever and everyone experiences some version of it. So, yeah, Lady Bird.
Nice.
Lady Bird. Okay.
Good
I like
option. I wish I liked that movie.
that. You don't like that movie?
I don't like it. I didn't even finish
Interesting.
it. I had to turn it off.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I know that's me. That's not the movie. 'Cause I know it's a good film.
It's just
I went to
'cause Mick
Catholic
hates
school,
women.
so I was...
Well, someone said it. We're all thinking
All
it.
right. Well, moving on.
Sorry, came in real hot there.
Came in so hot on that. Oh, man.
It's been a day.
I'm so sorry. So it's not. Originally, we were talking about movies that pertain to suicide, and mental health. But what's the new prompt?
Movie that made you feel represented at the place where you were at, mental health wise.
Okay, so Alexis, you'll have to go next. I have to think about that.
I'll have to go next?
Yeah, because I have nothing.
Okay, copy. I really should have thought about this a little bit more, but, I'm going to go off of something, two things off the top of my head. So we got Little Miss Sunshine, Steve Carell's character, where it's just like his partner is the one who killed himself or
I
died?
have only seen like 30 minutes of Little Miss Sunshine.
Okay, well, it's very clear that like Steve Carell's character is like on the outskirts of the family in some ways because he's experiencing this. I think he tried to kill himself. I think that's what happened.
Absolutely. Yeah. The movie
So-
starts. It was a
Failed suicide.
failed attempt at suicide.
And somebody asked him about it, and he kind of has to like give a certain answer about like why that happened, and he kind of has to articulate in a very simple way for a child, like what is going on. And I personally have some, and this is a trigger warning for people, but I have like scars on my body, right? And so I've, as much as possible, I try to keep that away from my younger family members. But, occasionally in summer or whatever, some of them have seen it. And I did have somebody ask me before, like, oh, what are those? And I just say, oh, they're boo-boos, But it's awkward. It doesn't feel good. I hate being in family situations where it's like I'm having a bad day and nobody else except for my middle sister really actually ever understands like kind of what's going on about it. And, just kind of like that feeling of like, I don't know how to tell you how I'm doing because it's not great. I think one time I was having a terrible day when I fucking, graduated from college, and I didn't want to party because I was having a shitty day, but my mom insisted on having a party and then got mad at me later.
Oh, wow.
Because she gets really stressed when she cooks. So, she was like, I'm giving you a party, but then got mad multiple times throughout the day because she was giving me a party. And I was like, I love it. I'm living for it.
Isn't that always-
This is so relevant to the movie we're talking
Isn't
about.
that always
specifically.
great when
Yeah.
someone like plans something that's ostensibly for you and then gets mad when you're not experiencing it the way they want you
You know
to?
why? Because usually those things are for them. A lot of I have friends who have like given me like parties or like celebrated my birthday or things like that, and I love them because like they just do it out of like joy, and just like wanting to do something nice for me. Whereas like I think my mom does it in this place where it's like I feel like it's my duty to do this for us, but she's kind of resentful that it's her duty, and I'm like, I would just rather you not do it and just chill out, lady,
Yeah. This is where I've gotten to with my my birthday now. I'm like, can everybody can everybody just come over and hang?
Yeah.
Can we have a few drinks and watch some movies?
Yeah.
I love birthdays, just not my own.
Same.
That's how I
I
feel
always
about
get
it.
the blues right around my birthday week, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on, but I'm on the verge of tears.
Yeah, I have this weird thought where I'm like, wait, so we're celebrating me going around the sun again. That's it. That's not an accomplishment. It seems fake. It seems forced.
Fake news.
Yeah, it's like I feel like I am not worthy of being celebrated. I
Yeah.
love to celebrate other people that I like, but why the hell would no? I don't deserve it. I don't want to do it. Yeah.
I'm gonna push back on that, Mick. You're worth being celebrated because life's fucking bitch sometimes.
Oh, well, thank you.
Making it through is an accomplishment. So
that is actually true.
If anybody's feeling down on themselves, being alive is an achievement, and you're doing a good job at it.
I'm gonna be honest, sometimes that is the one thing that I always remind myself is that no matter what, you've gotten through what it is you got through already. So anything else that comes up, you can probably handle it. Yeah. And if you got through that, you can get through the next thing, I don't know. It makes me feel up.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Sometimes you look back on all the shit you've been through and you're like, God, that bums me out. But then you think about it a bit longer. You're like, God, I've survived through quite a bit.
Yeah.
God damn.
Yeah.
Go me.
And,
look at that, huh?
I feel like
I'm in a good place now, and I used to not be, and that's a triumph.
Yeah.
That's a victory.
There's a quote from one of John Mulaney's stand-up sets where he's like, traveling can get kind of lonely, or no, traveling is not the right word. What is it? Life.
Yeah.
So, life can get lonely and challenging. So if you're making it through, hey, you're surviving late-stage capitalism. Good job, pal.
Yeah. Well done.
Congrats.
Yeah, all of our Film Major listeners, you are worth it.
You are literally killing it.
You are doing, you're killing it. Absolutely
it,
killing it.
Yeah. Wow, we've been so nice this episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, really positive,
this
guys.
This is really great. That's fantastic.
We're so much nicer today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because we're tired and delirious. We're like, we love each other.
No, I think it's because we all wrapped on set and we're like, you know what, guys? We just got to keep it up now.
I know. Enough negativity. I've been yelled at enough. If it's okay, I might break the rule here a little bit.
Okay.
Break it up.
Feel free to veto it, but I don't really have a moment from a film. But I do have from a television show that really spoke to me at a specific time in my life. It's Better Call Saul. Better Call Saul, the spinoff from Breaking Bad.
Speaking of shows that I've been putting off, even though I know I'll probably enjoy them.
So good. I think it's as good, if not better, than Breaking Bad. That's right, I said it. Maybe not better. I don't know. But I was at a point in my life where a lot of... I had burnt some bridges with some people that I cared about, and I felt like I was responsible, and I was partly. And there's a scene between Bob Odenkirk and his older brother, played by Ian. Is it Ian, the guy from Spinal Tap? What's his name?
I don't know.
Oh, I'm butchering.
Dominic Monaghan.
Video Vix.
Have you von Vix?
But no, basically, Bob Odenkirk's character, Saul Goodman, really did something to sabotage his older brother's career.
Yeah.
And he did it, it was premeditated. He knew what he was doing. But then when all the bricks came crumbling down, he felt bad and tried to apologize to him. And his brother just kind of cut him off and goes, no, like, don't apologize. He goes, why? I genuinely feel bad. He goes, because you always do this. You destroy relationships. You destroy lives. That's what you do. I'd respect you more if you just embraced it, honestly. Just face the music. Realize that all you do in life is hurt people. And I think you'll be better off for it. I think you'd thrive more. And as I was watching it, it felt like the character was talking to me. And it shook me. And that, honestly, believe it or not, a moment in a show, that was one of the final straws that made me go, like, I need a therapist. That's it. Better Call Saul. Vince Gilligan, you're putting me in therapy now, buddy. And that is a testament to how good your writing is. That
Congratulations,
I had an existential
Mr. Gilligan.
crisis. And I'm happy to report things are so much better now. All of that stuff has been resolved, and it's absolutely wonderful. Life is good. But that was a really powerful moment where he was just telling his brother, like, look, you just hurt people. That's what you do. I was like, oh, do I do that? Do I just hurt people? Oh no. I need to not do that. I need to fix that.
You know what? I also, piggybacking off of that, I hate it when people constantly tell me sorry after they've hurt my feelings, like my mom. I'm just adding my mom on this. Thank God she doesn't listen.
As someone raised by Canadians, can't help it. Sorry is like punctuation.
No, this
for
is
me.
more like, I'm sorry, but you're not ever changing your behavior that causes this. And I'm like, I just don't want to hear it.
Which
you
is,
know?
we always talk about the Irish goodbye, but we never talk about the Irish apology, which is there is none. You just bottle it up.
Yeah.
You stay proud.
Yeah, you just show, all right, then,
You go
I'm
to
just going to
confession.
go.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Hey, here's a quick sidebar.
Sure.
Hey, Alexis, why'd you cut the funniest bit out of the last episode? You might have heard me do a random Australian accent, and it's because Alexis tried to do an Irish accent, and it came out Australian, and she cut it because she is a coward.
I maintain that it was not an Australian accent, but I do admit that it was very bad. And I edited the episode, and I listened to it 3 times, and it was so bad that I was like... it wasn't secondhand embarrassment. It was firsthand embarrassment while I was listening to my own podcast.
It was so funny though. And you know what? We just had the midterms. You know, midterms just happened, and the general consensus is that democracy is still alive on a thread. And you know, we like to celebrate democracy on this show. So let's go ahead and put it to a vote. Zach, do you think it sounded Australian?
1,000%.
I also thought it sounded Australian. Alexis, did you think it sounded Australian?
How about you eat shit and die, Mick?
Well, I think we have the
Mickey.
majority ruling. No, Alexis, it was fantastic. It was so funny. We hope you do your Irish Australian accent again sometime.
Yeah, you know, I'm gonna workshop it, and then I'm gonna come back to you.
There it is. I'm gonna be so upset if her Irish accent's like on point. I'm gonna be, damn it.
Listen, I need to go out to the outback. I need to go out to the outback and get a kangaroo.
Crikey, mate.
Crikey.
You know what the worst part?
I'm from Sydney.
It was like a good 2 minutes that I had to cut out because it was the accent, and then it was just the boys giving me shit for like a good 2 minutes, and I just got angrier and angrier as I listened to it over and over again, and I was just like
building. Yeah. All right. Do we have any other movies that we feel represented us?
Yeah, you know, I want to bring up Drive My Car, international film from Japan.
Oh yeah.
I think we watched it in January, but it was a 2021 movie.
Great movie.
Oh my god, incredible! I really want to watch it again. I'm in the middle of reading Anton Chekhov's the play that they do from the movie. Incredible. But just in general, it's like kind of learning to forgive people, and kind of just that people, you can't think of them as black and white. All of us are just inevitably gray. And when you try to put somebody into a space of like, are they good or are they bad once they're gone, you can never do that. You have to take them all as they are, you know, and it's okay to recognize that they weren't all good, and to recognize that they weren't all bad, and that you had great moments with them. And yeah, so really love that movie. Great. Definitely gonna rewatch it. If you
Humans are complex creatures.
Yeah, you know,
They really are.
and, and also, just the very end of the movie is just kind of like this really great quote from the Chekhov play that's kind of about like, we're kind of like the quote from the poem that I read earlier, where it's like, do not go uneasy into that night, rage.
Do not go gentle
Oh my God.
into that good night.
Don't go uneasy
Rage.
into that good night.
Rage against the dying of the light.
Rage against the machine.
Yeah.
And that's why they call it the prestige.
And that's why we're the Peaky Blinders.
Because it's not just your light, it's your father's light.
Tommy Shelby.
And I won't let you tear down his legacy brick by brick. Master Wayne.
Sick. Fucking sick. Love it.
And that's
Moving
why they
forward.
call it the
We are
prestige.
all over the place tonight. and
Yo, I
am
don't know
here
what's
for it.
happening.
You might ask, what's going on?
Oh my god, no more.
We're back in it, boys. So, speaking of boys, let's talk about The Hours.
Ladies.
Ladies.
The Hours.
All ladies all the time.
Yeah.
2002 film starring Julianne Moore, Meryl Streep,
Nicole Kidman.
Nicole Kidman. Yeah.
John C.
Janney.
Riley.
Oh my God.
Allison Janney, John C. Riley.
Yes.
The guy who plays
Claire Danes.
Stannis Baratheon.
And directed by Stephen Daldry or Stephen Daldry.
Yeah,
I don't know,
and then,
I don't care.
Score by
Daldry.
Philip Glass. It's incredible. Amazing. Love that man.
Philip Glass. I know you listen to this podcast. Just keep working the magic. You're so good.
So yeah,
Don't listen to that inner critic, Philip. You're worth it. We love the music.
Philip, you made it around the sun another day, and we're proud of you.
We love you, buddy.
Oh my
Put down the
god.
pills.
Fuck. Yeah. So if I'm being completely honest, I did not love this film.
I would love to hear what exactly you don't love about it, because me and Mick connected a lot with it, and then you don't. So I'm actually really curious about like how you connected so much with Banshees and we didn't as much, and then that's kind of the opposite for the Hours.
I think it's less about subject matter and more about feeling like it has forward momentum. I feel like the Hours for me felt kind of meandering and plodding and sort of like the worst of a thing that I feel like a lot of period pieces of this sort get accused of, which is just being a lot of people standing around in rooms and talking.
Yeah.
So I was never really engaged with it. I feel like Jane Eyre I enjoy more because I feel like has a momentum to it. It has a focus to it. That central relationship is really compelling.
Yeah.
And I feel like maybe it was the 3 different time periods. I felt like it was less than the sum of its parts for me. And I really wanted to like it because the cast, incredible. Jeff Daniels is someone we didn't mention.
Oh, yeah,
who's
yeah.
also spectacular.
Ed Harris.
Yeah, Ed Harris. John C. Reilly is, I would say, maybe my top pick for most underappreciated actor of his generation. I think that dude is fantastic.
Yeah.
Yes. But yeah, I don't know. It never really came together for me, and I was bummed because I really wanted to enjoy this movie, and I felt like it started out strong, but it never really came together for me. And by the end, well, there are some reveals that recontextualize a couple of the storylines. For me, it feels like a little bit too little too late. But I am interested to hear your guys' thoughts on this, because I know both of you in the, several days since we have all watched this and since we all sat down and tried to record this episode, you guys have definitely done some reading on this movie and on Virginia Woolf. So I want to hear about what you love about the movie, because, who wants to listen to a guy be negative about a movie for a long-ass time? If you want that, go fucking watch Cinema Sins. I don't know.
No, yeah, for sure. The girls do not come here for that. No, but Virginia Woolf, she's considered a writer from the modernist era, and so a lot of her works are not exactly stream of conscious, but kind of in that vein where it's like kind of that meandering thing, which is why it's very interesting that you say that, because like her books themselves are very much kind of, they have plot, but at the same time it's very much kind of a day in the life kind of thing where you're just following somebody and eventually you kind of get this feeling of what it is about.
What was the book that really put her on the map? Because one of the articles I read about Virginia Woolf was some scholars have said that her first big break, her big popular, her first work kind of kicked off modern feminism. Like they can trace that back to that book, and I think in the film of the Hours and exploring Virginia Woolf and stuff, I can definitely see the DNA of that.
Yeah, it was
the modern approach to femininity and defining their agency, and full people that are far more complex than society at the time would ever even dare dream of giving them.
Well, I mean, she herself did struggle with mental illness, which if you've seen the movie, about Virginia Woolf at all, then you would know that she committed suicide. So.
Yeah, I'd say pretty much from the fucking jump, you'd gather that, because the movie does open on her suicide.
The opening rocks.
Oh, I was going to make an even stupider comparison, which is it reminded me of the scene where the parents kill themselves in The Boy because they put rocks in their pockets and walk into the ocean. And Virginia Woolf did do the same thing for real, and it's sad. And I'm sorry, Virginia Woolf. I'm sorry that I just compared.
Laughing her way through that sentence. God.
You know, it's so unhinged that a man would laugh at someone's at tragedy. It's like he's some sort of the Joker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is life a tragedy or a comedy?
That's the question. That's the question that the film we're talking about, 2019's Joker, poses us.
You know, I have to say the trajectory of the story.
Tired.
Nobody trusts each other anymore.
This deep into the podcast, maybe.
The trajectory of the film didn't bother me. The pacing didn't bother me. I would say that the fact that we had multiple different storylines in different time zones, you would think in a vacuum would be recipe for disaster in terms of a cohesive story. It worked for me though because you have these separate, mostly unrelated characters. They're all tethered to one another through similar trauma. They're different situations, but I enjoyed the through line emotionally that the film pulled off. So I think props to the filmmakers for that. It's fun watching it, and then as the movie unfolds, you realize, oh, this really is how this is all connected, even though it's literally they're generations apart.
Yeah, I often really enjoy a movie that does that. I just felt like for me, none of the storylines engaged me enough to really justify it. I feel like another movie that came out around this time that this director's clearly a fan of because he cast two people who were in it is Magnolia, Paul Thomas Anderson's Magnolia.
Have not seen
I
that,
haven't seen
but
that
I've heard
either.
very, very good things about it.
It's not my favorite of his, and in the words of Paul Thomas Anderson, I think you could cut that fucker down.
Yeah, he himself has said, God, I can't even rewatch it. It's so long.
Yeah. But I don't know. I think that movie, for me, does a bit of a better job jumping between storylines but not feeling like you're losing anything. And also it has more John C. Reilly, and you can always have more John C. Reilly because John C. Reilly, we love you. You're enough, and you made it another year around the sun, and I'm so proud of you.
I think that this movie is just something that I feel really emotionally connected to. Maybe it's because I'm a woman, and, you know, obviously the story is centered around women, and there's so much that kind of illustrates the way that women bear their emotional pain around others, and especially like around the men in their lives, and kind of like rework their lives in order to appease those around them. So I think that's just something that I've always felt connected to, and on a rewatch it comes through even clearer now that I've like kind of gained more experience since the last time that I saw this movie, probably when I was in like middle school.
You watched this movie in middle school?
Honestly, maybe before that, because by the
that's
time I
rough.
got into high school, I was already really in love with the soundtrack. I remember that, the score. I have it on CD so that I can just listen to that shit.
Boy, hell yeah, CD.
Hey, I'm an analog bitch.
I don't know what that's like, I say as I stare at our shelf of almost 400 Blu-rays.
Yeah, I think one of my notes was I love movies that explore that as much joy people give to our lives, they also can cause unbearable pain. And I think that's one of the through lines of the movie.
Yeah. Yeah, I think what's interesting about it is, God, how does the book start? It's like that morning, Mrs. Dalloway decided that she was going to buy the flowers.
She was going to buy the flowers.
She was going to buy the flowers. And I find it interesting that you have these three different women who have seemingly lives of plenty. You have a successful writer. You have a woman who, in the minds of white cis society of the 50s, is the perfect nuclear family. What more could you want? And then in the more modern storyline, you have another successful woman who's living in a nice brownstone apartment in New York, who is happily, maybe not happily, but is in a relationship. And on the surface, they have lives of plenty, but as you learn more about them, there is so much want that exists within them, and that's such a real thing.
And I think that's also like when you think about like Virginia Woolf's character, and also Laura Brown is the name of Julianne Moore's character. Okay, so when you think of Laura Brown and you think of Virginia Woolf, they have, and also, Clarissa Vaughn, they all have partners who are clearly supportive of them, and yet there is still something wanting in their life. And I think that that's kind of like what people never understand about like dealing with depression, either around you or within yourself, is, you can't put into words what's wrong.
Yeah, I know my condition, as Virginia Woolf said.
I had someone close to me in my life when I was in high school, and I mentioned that I was depressed, be like, what do you have to be depressed about? And I was like, oh, I didn't think about it like that. Now that I know that I don't have anything to be depressed about, mental health issues, honestly, like, thank you. Solved.
Yeah.
Solved. Literally.
Well, I think this film, I think you're bringing up a good point about how this movie it's an interesting meditation on the effects of depression, both on the person that's suffering from it and those around them that have to support that person or how they're affected by it. And it gives a unsatisfying, I think, answer to it, which I think is the perfect answer, because it's a zero-sum game, and that is the darkness of depression, is that I just don't think there is a way. It's different for everybody, for the friends and family around them, the people that love them. It talks, oftentimes when someone takes their own life, people like to throw out, how selfish that is, that they did that. And this movie, I think, does a very delicate and thoughtful job of investigating, is it necessarily selfish? When you look at it from their perspective of, there is a way out for them, and this is how they're doing it. I don't know. It's fascinating. Yeah. Well, it is fascinating.
And I think, the Ed Harris storyline kind of gets to the heart of that, of like, he kills himself essentially to unburden Meryl Streep's character, Mrs. Dalloway. And, I think that's a lot of where that sort of mindset comes from, is like, I'm burdening the people in my life. So like, everybody needs to stop it with that shit of, suicide is selfish, because that doesn't help anybody who's dealing with those thoughts.
Yeah, I do find it interesting that his character is the only one with a physical manifestation of an illness, because he does have AIDS in the movie, but obviously he also is grappling with the internal illness of depression and everything else. So, which is kind of why I think like it's a little bit easier for people like around him to understand, like, oh, you're suffering, because I can see it. Yeah. And I know. And whereas like, like Laura Brown or Virginia Woolf, it's more of like, I don't see anything wrong with you, so there can't be anything wrong. Why can't you go through life a little easier? Another thing I really love about the movie is just like how often they kind of brought up I think Clarissa Vaughn was the one who talked to Ed Harris's character Richard and said, we live for others. And that's something when I was really, really deep in depression, like when I was in high school, that kind of like got me through things. But as time went on, like when I learned to live for myself, that's when things started to get a little bit better.
Self-love, folks. Self-love, self-care.
Wow, radical. Crazy. Tasty. I love it.
Well, now that has to
bring it a little closer. No.
No.
I tried.
Don't you know sarcasm when you hear it? Come on.
Oh, what are you showing me that for? Come on.
All right.
that was my Irish accent.
Eat shit.
Not to be Debbie Downer, but I will say one thing that I think is another element that just kind of put me off about this movie, and I think I kind of touched on it, is I feel like it has some great actors in, like, you know, supporting roles who I feel like don't really get used to their fullest ability. Obviously, John C. Reilly's someone I brought up, but also Allison Janney. I think every time she's on screen, she has this, you know, so much energy to her. And I feel like she is underused in this movie. And then I feel like there are a few supporting characters who just, like, have some heavy lifting to do, and I feel like don't rise to the challenge. I don't want to
Name names. Come on.
I don't know the actor's name, but the spoilers. I mean, obviously, whatever. We're in it. The child who plays the younger Ed Harris, I feel like just completely does not sell any of the emotion that he needs to, and has some incredibly heavy moments where that's absolutely called for, but also, like, it's a kid. So
That's interesting because I really related to that kid the first time I watched it.
I understand where the kid's character is supposed to be at,
Yeah.
but I did not believe that he was there. And Virginia's husband is another character who I just feel like has some emotional heavy lifting to do.
Yeah.
And somewhere in my notes, I believe I wrote down that Julianne Moore is really good at playing a person on the edge of breaking,
Yeah.
but who's keeping it all inside.
Yeah.
And I feel like the actor who plays Virginia's husband is at points called on to kind of pull off a similar feat of, like, just trying to keep all of that pain inside. And I feel like he kind of does the bad version of it where he underplays it so much that it feels like there's nothing there.
Interesting. I thought of
so-
it as more just like his character's a little bit more quiet.
I mean, he is
and,
British.
And, well, they're British.
yeah, that explains
but
everything.
It's also, you have to take the context of the era into account as well. This was back when people, especially men, were really encouraged to not ever express anything even related to tears.
I
You
understand
bottle it
that.
up. So I think
I just don't. I feel like a great actor can sell that that's going on internally. Not to come back to 2022 movies and weirdly the Batman in this episode a couple times.
Okay.
But Robert Pattinson is incredible at selling
Yeah, I would agree
a
with
ton of emotion with his eyes, particularly in a movie where most of his face is covered.
suffering in silence.
Yeah. And I feel like the actor who plays Virginia's husband, I don't see that struggle happening
Yeah.
internally.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, for me, I think, obviously I think Leonard's frustrated and maybe he's holding some of that inside, but I think sometimes when I watch this, I was just like, he's just confused. He doesn't really
He
understand.
doesn't know what to do.
He doesn't know
know
what to
what's
do.
going on.
He doesn't know what's going on.
But I think that scene that you get with him and Virginia at the train station where he's, trying to put that together and expressing that she isn't well, I think he knows to a degree. And I don't... Well, he knows that she's struggling.
Yeah.
That's why they moved to the country.
Yeah.
And I don't see that conflict in him.
Yeah. I think that he knows that she's struggling, but he doesn't understand how to help. He thinks he knows how to help her, and he's really confused on why he can't.
He has no sticks. He's out of carrots.
He doesn't know. He doesn't know what a lesbian is. He's a man in 1923 in England.
Yeah.
Which I would like to segue into something else where I'm gonna suggest that maybe this is part of why I don't connect to this, is like, I'm not a queer person, and this is a movie that focuses on queer women and, in Ed Harris's case, a queer man in all these different time periods, and, that experience of repressing that aspect of yourself. It's, something that I can't, fully understand. So that might be a level to which I'm not connecting on it beyond, any technical issues I have with the movie.
It's interesting too, because with each era, the acceptance of queer people within society gets freer and freer, and yet the struggle of mental health still exists in the microcosms, the many different facets of that, which I thought was interesting. And the storyline that I probably connected with the least was probably Julianne Moore's era, the 50s, as I was watching it. But upon reflection, actually, I quite enjoy it, because there was an article I read that brought up an interesting point, and I'm going to kind of paraphrase it a little bit, but it was basically, so you have this perfect nuclear family. She's in a really nice marriage. John C. Reilly, they make a birthday cake, and
who doesn't love him?
And he's like, this is everything I wanted. This is perfect. And she, again, seemingly has it all, and yet she is in a marriage with someone that she really doesn't love, because we know who she really loves, which is another person we didn't mention, Toni Collette. Great performance. And, yep, that's Toni Collette.
Oh my God, that's Toni Collette.
Yes,
I
Kitty.
was trying to
And
figure
Toni
out
Collette.
where she was in that movie. Oh my God.
She is the mother to a son, and
Stone Cold Fox.
and to an unborn, soon-to-be daughter who may as well be Martians to her. She really doesn't quite feel that, which I think is fascinating, because he, as an adult, Ed Harris is in space pajamas.
Oh,
He
wow.
might as well be from fucking outer space, because she just doesn't feel it. She ends up abandoning her children.
I've abandoned my child!
The daughter dies.
I've abandoned my boy! I'm
And
sorry, I put that in my notes.
I thought that was a really, I don't know, I look back on that in retrospect, and I think that's really interesting. And I wonder if they did that
I think they did it
on
purposefully.
purpose. Yeah, I mean, everything in the film is on purpose.
Well, also
but-
because he's wearing that robe in the scene where he commits suicide, and then you do get that that go back to the 50s, and you can see Richard as a young child get into bed, and his bed spread is rocket ships.
Yeah.
So it's
he's
like he's
clearly
stuck in the past.
Because she abandoned her child.
I've abandoned my child!
When he sits in the windowsill, the way he sits, his physical body language, obviously he's sick with HIV and he's very cold because it's cold outside, but he's just kind of curling up in the way a child does, on the couch. And very clearly, as soon as, and it's so tragic because as a kid, he was abandoned, so he was always destined to take that leap of faith in the end. And he did. I view it that way.
Interesting.
He was destined to do it because of her leaving him. He was forever stuck in that abandonment. And I think, again, the fact that he's wearing those pajamas that are the same print as when he was a kid in his bed, I think that just kind of speaks to the theme of as soon as she left him, at least in the regards to this film, he was going to kill himself when he was older.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay.
I don't know. That's kind of how I look at it.
Yeah. One of the things I wanted to say, because I know you don't really appreciate the child's performance, I suppose. I don't know. I don't know if I necessarily love the performance, but I saw a lot of myself as a child in him, because I very much did the whole same thing where it's like there's nothing going on because I'm just frozen and I'm processing in my brain what's going on, but I'm trying not to react because I feel on edge, because I know that something's wrong, but I can't articulate what's wrong. And so instead, I'm in my frozen state of being. So that's why, not seeing some reactions to him at times, it made sense to me.
I think for me, it's more in his reactions. I think the bit where he's chasing his mom down the street and we cut back to his face, I don't see the emotion there that I think I should be seeing. Also, I have to shout out whoever the character actress is that Julianne Moore leaves her son with.
Oh, the babysitter?
Yeah.
She's one of those guys.
She's
You
great.
know what
I've
she's
seen her in
in?
so many things.
Yeah, you know what I've seen her in?
What?
Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox Story. She plays Dewey Cox's mom.
She does. Oh
And
my god.
She dies because Dewey's music kills people. Sorry, I had to make a note of that because I was watching the movie and I was like, this is a really tense moment, but oh my god, oh my god, that's Dewey's mom.
Oh my god.
Yeah, we really should do an episode on like that guys at some point.
Yeah, sure.
Because that's one of my favorite classes of actor.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, we should maybe pick that as like a topic sometime.
Yeah.
Okay, so two things. I'm in the middle of reading a book on acting by Larry Moss, and one of the chapters is on space and how actors use space to kind of further their character. And they literally, and I highlighted this section, they brought up the hours because they talked about how all three women use space and how all three women, it's like they're out of place in the place that they're supposed to be at home. They're home. They walk around like they don't belong. They walk around like the space is closing in on them. Yeah. You know, excellent use of space, excellent use of that for their characters. I mean, you can see that a lot with Laura Brown and Clarissa Vaughn a lot.
Definitely. I would say probably the most with Clarissa. And I'm so glad you brought that up before I watched the movie because when you pick up on it, it is such a great note for actors and their performances, the way you navigate the physical space, whether it be a stage or a set. You're right. I mean, you know, David Fincher often will do, 70 takes because when they want an actor to come in, flip on the light switch and throw their bag on the couch, he wants it to look like they've done this thousands of times. And so no one knows this space better than this character. So we best believe that they know the space better than anybody, as these characters in the hours would. Yet, as you just brought up, they do seem lost. And that's such a great external representation through movement that speaks to the inside. It speaks to the inner self. And that's so brilliant.
And specifically with Virginia Woolf, obviously she used to live in London and then they're out in, I think they said Richmond or somewhere in the country, basically in England, so that she can get better. But they're in this house and she walks around like she's scared. And you find out that she maybe doesn't really get on with her cook and like her maids, and that they kind of like make fun of her behind her back for being difficult. And of course she can overhear them. And just in general, obviously when you're in a certain state of mind and you think that people are talking about you and then you do realize that they're talking about you, you're gonna be on eggshells all the time. And when she walks around, she looks like she's on eggshells until she gets into that kitchen and she starts almost behaving a little childishly. And then another thing.
Yeah, the whole thing about the ginger really does read as someone basically having a tantrum.
Exactly.
I will say that of my issues with this film, the leading performances are not one of them. I think all of the three leading ladies are fantastic. And, if you want to hear us talk more Meryl, go back and check out the Death Becomes Her episode.
Exactly, because Meryl is our superstar woman. Absolutely.
I don't know. I feel like we should always make a little note when someone pops back up.
Oh, so. Yeah. Also, in Meryl's, Clarissa Vaughn's apartment, loft, whatever.
You're crushing it.
I'm crushing it.
Push through.
I'm feeling the walls of my mind close in. I'm tired.
And I'm in those walls.
I'm in your walls. I'm in your walls. I'm in your walls. Okay, so she goes to Mrs. Dalloway buys flowers right at the beginning. So she goes to buy flowers at the beginning, and they ask her, like, what flowers you want. You want some lilies? And she says, no, too morbid. And that's because lilies are typically brought for funerals, right? That's kind of what they, like, signify in the language of flowers, is, like, death or whatever. And if you notice, obviously they're about to have a party, so her entire fucking apartment is covered with vases and vases and vases of flowers. So she's literally surrounded by all of this life, and none of it is supposed to remind her of death. Because why? She's constantly reminded of that every single time that she goes to visit Richard. And so I liked that kind of detail in the set design.
And you have a through line, because it's not just that era that has the flowers. It's every single era. Flowers plays into it, and that's a really, really good note. And it's interesting too, because like the book Mrs. Dalloway, each storyline is about a woman trying to do their best of muscling through playing host to a party or celebration that's coming later that day, that instead of feels like something to look forward to, it feels like a tsunami coming. It's instead of something that is cause for celebration, it feels like dread.
An obligation that I'm just going to have to get through.
Exactly.
That I want to do, but I don't know if I'm in the headspace to do
like
it.
Like a freight train just coming right at you that you can't do anything, you know? And I think that's really interesting.
I do love, so Kitty, Toni Collette's character, comes in, and let me just preface all of this by saying that the Virginia Woolf storyline is about her writing the book Mrs. Dalloway that was published in, I believe, 1925. Laura Brown, Julianne Moore's character, is reading Mrs. Dalloway, and then Clarissa Vaughn, Meryl Streep's character, is living the life of that book, and is given the nickname by Ed Harris's Richard, Mrs. Dalloway, as well. So that's kind of like the very surface level connection. But I love that Kitty, Toni Collette's character, comes into Laura Brown's place, and she picks up the book, and she's like, "Oh, you're reading something. What's it about?" And she's just like, "Oh, it's about a hostess. She's giving a party, and because everyone thinks she's confident, they think she's fine, but she isn't." And as soon as Laura says that, you just see this change in Toni Collette's character, and she puts the book down like it fucking burned her. Like she couldn't be rid of it faster, because immediately that connected with her, and it hurt. So I really loved that moment. It was great. I had to write it down.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, I don't know quite what to say about this. I'll just kind of throw it out into the ether and see what comes back.
Toss down out there.
In Mrs. Dalloway, I guess she learns at one point in the book that a stranger, I think it's only described as a stranger, I think purposely flings themselves, or at least falls from a very high place and dies.
Yes.
And I think they describe it in the book, Virginia Woolf uses the word violence.
Yeah.
And how this stranger that she never knew their name, didn't even know about them until they found out that they had just killed themselves, was a very violent thing in Mrs. Dalloway's life and day, and really affects them. Yeah. So I find it interesting that the writer and director decided to reincorporate that into Ed Harris's character of them flinging themselves through a window in a very violent. I mean, your friend shows up and you fling yourself from your window in front of them. Yeah, is one of the most violent things I can think of. Yeah, so it's interesting. It is interesting because
originally in the book, it's a character that's unconnected to the real Mrs. Dalloway, right. And I believe it's a World War I veteran who's probably experiencing a lot of PTSD, and so he's been walking around
from World War I.
From World War I.
Oh wow!
I mean, they
hadn't
such
had a chill war.
They hadn't had World War II yet because it was 1925 when this book was published. So.
I feel like fighting in World War I seems like more of a nightmare. I don't know. There's a lot of mustard gas. Plus, you just didn't know you hadn't seen a machine gun used against you because you'd only seen those mowing down, brown people. So
Nice.
yeah.
Okay.
That's the historical
Okay.
that's the historical
That
context.
took a right turn
Sorry.
into my territory.
Sorry, I'm sleepy. I'm just
You know,
I'm thinking about how that
interesting?
war's colonialism coming home.
Yeah, you know what I thought was interesting in one of the articles that I read about Mrs. Dalloway and the Hours was kind of how it relates to how we are now coming out of the pandemic. But you know, after World War One, actually a lot of soldiers died not from World War One at the very end, but they died of the Spanish influenza.
Yeah.
And so that was actually like the first time that people actually started wearing masks and having to isolate from people. And so, you know, the 20s were actually a big point of time for people to kind of come out of that. And where do we go from here?
Yeah.
You know, and we're kind of experiencing that on our end as well.
And in regards to today's social media, because, you know, I
yes.
think you can look into these characters being surrounded by people who love them and care about them, and yet they feel so alone, and they feel this obligation that they have to put on this persona
Yeah.
of how they're supposed to be, how they're supposed to be perceived, how they want people to perceive them,
Yeah.
which exactly plays into how we are today with social media being such a major pillar of our lives and our identity of, it's so, you know, I have 1,000 friends on whatever, and yet I feel absolutely isolated, and I feel absolutely alone. It's interesting.
Virginia Woolf in a lot of her...
Take a drink.
Virginia Woolf in a lot of her like literary works, and especially like some of her essays, focuses a lot on this whole idea of like perception of oneself, and I definitely can relate to kind of the things that she says, because when I was in a really, really, really bad headspace, I deleted my Instagram, and it was honestly so freeing because I almost felt like I disappeared. Because I deleted all of my social media, and it really felt like I had disappeared because nobody could perceive me anymore. And so I felt like I was able to like actually be alone without feeling like I was having to watch other people live their lives without being involved with their lives. So it was a very interesting point in time. We're all just saying interesting. Interesting is the hot word of the day, guys, in case you were wondering.
And speaking of interesting in social media, check us out on Instagram and
we
Twitter at FilmMajorsPod, or, you know, before fucking Elon Musk destroys Twitter.
Right.
Yeah.
Can I just say some of my favorite quotes from the movie?
Go for it.
Bust it on out.
Rattle them
Bust
off.
it on out. All right. So one of it is, it is I who wrestle in the dark. You wrestle with the idea of my demise. I do too. And then she says later on, you cannot find peace by avoiding life. I love that. And then I think it's Ed Harris's character who says, I still have to face the hours after the party, the hours after and after.
Yeah, that's
Love
probably my favorite line.
Actually, the reason why this movie is called The Hours is not just because of that, but the original working title of Mrs. Dalloway was, in fact, The Hours. Which, I mean, I'm sure that Virginia Woolf had lots of time to contemplate The Hours.
Yeah, you know, it's... I would say the reason that line resonated with me the most was because when I was in a really bad headspace for a while a few years ago, I was really, really, really depressed, and that's exactly what it felt like. That line summarizes it so well, where you wake up in the morning and it dawns on you that you have another day to get through. What do I do? You know, I didn't have a job. I didn't have any friends really at the time, or any that were living in the same town as me. And it felt so utterly paralyzing laying in bed and realizing the hours that you have to get through. And you did end up getting through them, because you do, you know, you would find, you know, I had vices, you know, I'd be smoking weed like a motherfucker, trying to just numb the pain.
Yeah.
And I would find some moments in my day where it did seem like, okay, I'm getting through this, I'm okay. And then I had the idea, the thought of, oh, so now I'm just going to be sad again after this, because what's tomorrow?
Yeah.
What about the hours after this hour? And then the hours after those. So when he said that line, to me it felt like, okay, well, whoever wrote that knows exactly what they're talking about, because that's exactly what it feels like. You take the victories, but damn, what about tomorrow?
Yeah.
What about after that?
I have something to say to that. There's this really incredible show called Viva on Showtime. It only had 3 seasons. It's a LGBTQ plus show. Incredible. Love the showrunner. But one of the characters, Nico, who is so hot. Roberta Colindres, if you are single, hit me up. But other than that, they talk to this one character she's very uptight. She really likes things in her own control, and she's feeling very overwhelmed with like kind of bringing her mom's bar essentially like back to life after she passes away. And she tells her that she, had read a book at some point, and it was called The Birds or something like that. But how do you do something? It was like somebody was doing like a project or something, and they waited until the last minute to do it. And they were like, how am I supposed to count all these birds? And their father was just like, bird by bird. We'll do it bird by bird. So you do it bird by bird. You do it second by second, minute by minute, hour by hour, days, weeks, months, years, until you fucking make it through.
I feel like that's a great place to wrap it up, to be honest.
Bird by bird.
Bird by bird, guys.
Yeah, I feel like that's an awesome place to wrap up our discussion on this movie.
Yeah, great.
Overall, I really liked it. It was great. I had a good time.
Yeah, how do you feel after we discussed it, Zach?
I liked hearing you guys talk about what you liked about the movie.
Great.
I don't know if I'll personally revisit it, but I see what you appreciated it.
Yeah. I definitely, the score is something to revisit, even if you don't revisit the movie.
Big Phil. So would we like to hop on to our next movie, which I feel like we had kind of come to a consensus?
We decided that our third week of the month, every month, just kind of has to be a group consensus.
Yeah, if it's someone else's month.
It's the compromise week.
It's the compromise week.
And our compromise film will be 2011's Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, which I am thrilled to revisit because I haven't seen it in a lot of years. It's starring Gary Oldman, John Hurt, Mark Strong, Colin Firth, and Tom Hardy. And it is... sure. And it is directed by Tomas Alfredson. So, yeah, that's what we will be discussing next week.
Incredible. I'm really excited for Period Piece Palooza.
Woo!
To continue, I've never seen this one before, so this will be a good one for me. And don't forget, guys, we're doing Pride and Prejudice at the end of the month for my birthday week, and we're doing a drinking game. So don't worry, we will be dropping that. I believe maybe with the Tinker Tailor sometime after we drop Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy episode.
The Friday after.
So watch the movie. Play along, because you're gonna get shwasty.
And once again, well, actually, the hours we were able to find on Showtime, but Tinker Tailor is not currently available on for free on any streaming platform, so you're gonna have to rent that one on YouTube or Amazon Prime. But yeah, that brings us to the end. If you want to engage us on social media, we are Film Majors Pod on both Twitter and Instagram. And our email is filmmajorspod@gmail.com. Send us your thoughts. Tell us what you'd like us to discuss next.
Still waiting on the fan fiction. Send it in, folks.
Please don't.
I need reading material.
Oh, wait. Did we say that they were asking for fan fiction?
No.
Between you two, right?
Please stop. Please don't.
I'm encouraging. I'm encouraging.
Yeah, preferably between us. I'd prefer that.
Oh my God! Please wait, Maddie, if you ever listen to this, make it happen.
Yes, Maddie. Yes. Oh God, that would be great.
Yeah, and give us a 5 stars on the Spotify, on the Apple Podcast.
Yeah.
Give
me a gold star. I live for the validation every day in my life.
Tell your friends about us. Tell
Yeah.
us how witty and smart we are.
Or just fucking tell us we're pieces of shit.
Yeah.
I mean, we've heard it enough our whole lives.
We can take it.
We can take
worse.
it.
We can withstand the hours.
We can take a pounding. All right, let's go.
What a great
I'm
way
ready to go
end.
to bed.
It's downtown, folks.
No, please.
Good night, everybody.
Ta-ta for
night.
now.